First, wait, I want to clarify. Should we try and keep this like less swearing than a stream?
No, don't change who you are at all.
Pwn is already demonetized.
Are you new here? Yeah, we're already demonetized. It doesn't matter, bro.
That's true.
Alright, so anyways guys, what's going on? My name is Pwn. We're going to be doing something a little different today. The goal is to talk about the recent update that has everybody talking. Masterworks, in-game, ranked coming as a top priority, and I've got a couple of my buddies from the community, so they're not actual commentators or influencers. They don't have Bungie's ear. They're just regular gamers, and I want to basically interview them, if you will, have a little mini podcast and find out how they feel about the game and just kind of discuss everything with us just having a mutual interest in the game. So, guest number one is Zerpy. Say hi, dude, so they know your voice.
Hello, hello.
The gamer number two is One Bar, or Hyman. He's shy.
Hi.
That's his laugh. So, this should be pretty simple. We're going to basically separate this into a few, I guess, mini topics. Number one being the, I don't know, you guys want to start with Masterworks, or do you want to go in with, like, the whole ranked and Crucible status? Crucible? Go Crucible. So,
Like Crucible's like a bigger topic.
Yeah.
okay, well, I mean, let's just make it explosive. It's all about leading with something big. So, right now, for those that are unaware, the projected date is early 2018 for private matches, which I'm not sure exactly how much freedom we're going to have in those. Obviously, they need more transparency in that area, but hopefully we can just run around non-stop with tractor cannons. That'd get me excited.
That'd be
But
fun.
it's a good start in the right direction as long as we have enough freedom and control over how we're going to set these matches up. And the thing to note is that they went ahead and said the number one priority for them after this launch is implementing a ranked system into the game. We don't know exactly how it's going to work. We can only assume that it's going to be like how many other games out there have, like the bronze to diamond climb, the whole ELO thing. What are your guys' thoughts on ranked coming to the game, and more importantly, is this the right play for priority number one?
I feel that, well, for ranked play, I personally don't think that it should be priority number one. Priority number one should still be focused on the loot system in general, because it's deteriorated drastically from how they had it by the end of Destiny 1. This is how they had it set up in camp was completed. It felt very rewarding every time you got stuff. Every time, if you were a low level trying to level up, you would earn stuff that would progressively get you higher and higher. And when you were at a high enough point where you were max light, which was 400, I believe at the time, you would get drops that would drop not only at your light, but also with the random rolls. Sometimes be better than stuff that you would have than other stuff you have. And it felt more rewarding by the end of Destiny 1 than it does currently in the state of vanilla Destiny 2.
Okay.
You know, I tend to agree. I actually never played Destiny 1, but in terms of where the majority of this game content is to be played, it's in PvE. There's also some major changes that need to happen before ranked is even, I think, to be considered at all.
Like dedicated servers?
Dedicated servers, rebalancing of things like pulse nades, which I'm not sure when Bungie decided, you know, that they should have two and them be faster, but somebody did.
Do you think, I mean, like, do you think there's going to be some pretty good freedom? Even, like, Call of Duty has developed a pretty decent ranked system out there. Do you think there's going to be a, like a banning phase or something? Like, do you think they're going to go all-out proper system? Because if you could, like, disable certain grenades or go in depth with that, I mean...
Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they, isn't Blizzard having some kind of help with them on the PC?
I'm not sure. I know they've influenced things with like their anti-cheat and other things, but I don't know how involved they are in terms of development.
Blizzard
if nothing else. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
We can pray.
Blizzard, as far as I'm aware, is running the VoIP servers, and and the like chat client hosting. But that's about it, as far as I know.
So I was gonna say they need to take play, because if they have Blizzard there helping them out with Activision for the PC, they need to take plays from their book in Overwatch, competitive online shooter that focuses heavily on their PvP aspect. They should take a lot of elements that they have already installed in that game and carry them over to their Destiny competitive platform.
You have to assume there's
right on the right track.
You have to assume they're consulting. I mean, even with you know Blizzard's experience with RPGs and stuff, Like, I don't know how, like, the loot system isn't getting where it needs to be quite yet. I don't know where a few of these things are. I don't know why things have been hindered, if you will. But I agree with you guys in terms of ranked. Like, I welcome ranked. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing. My issue with ranked being #1 priority is I feel like, I would say only a fraction of people that I know really enjoy Crucible. I happen to be one of them. I prefer Crucible to PvE, and I feel like I'm part of the minority, but I have never had anyone say, yo, I don't like doing raids, or I don't like PvE. But I have a lot of friends that say, I don't like PvP. That is not uncommon, and that was not just because D2 is different from D1, but it's always been that way. So there's only a portion of the community that actually really digs PvP, and an even smaller portion of that really does want to get involved in competitive or ranked. So we're talking maybe 10 or 20% of people that would legitimately be interested in this. And whereas something like focusing on looting, getting a better in-game system in play with more variables and obviously no ceiling at all, that would excite me because that affects everybody, not just a third or a fourth of the player base. So I'm not against ranked. Ranked is a good way, and in some way it's actually a form of in-game. But it's only an in-game for a handful of people, or a handful of the community. And again, I love it. I personally want to play it, but I also know a lot of my friends are not going to have any interest in it. And it sucks because they're going to kind of basically be pushed away from that. I mean, this is something that's going to be big for them. And I feel like loot should be priority #1. I feel like they need to have a system in play where there is no ceiling for loot. You always need room for grinding and upgrades and, you know, just different stat variables or something. Even with perks with the original Destiny, there was kind of an incentive there. If vendors didn't exist in Destiny 1 and you couldn't just shortcut your way to the palindrome with god rolls, it would have been an entirely different game. If I would have had a really good hand cannon within the same archetype, I would be able to act like I have something over my friends. So, I mean, it felt good to grind and collect something back in D1. It wasn't perfect. It could have absolutely improved. But we actually went backwards, in my opinion. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. I feel like even just at the start of Destiny, it felt like one step forward, two steps back. Like they took a step in the right direction in certain aspects. Like they answered problems from the first game that they adjusted in the second game, but then they took 2 huge steps back with a lot of other things, like the loot system, through like with the token system. I also think that's an issue.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
But to bring it back to the competitive aspect, speaking strictly from a PlayStation. Because I've been fortunate enough to Platinum Destiny because I had some people help me through the raid. But for like Trials of the Nine, for example, only 21% of the player base who has played Destiny 2 on PS4 has actually, first off, won a single game of Trials in order to get to the Emissary. But just looking at the trophy alone, only 21% of the player base actually has any sort of involvement in the competitive aspect of the game, which is like Trials of the Nine, which is what they're trying to make their priority 1, which is the competitive playlist. And it's like that's.
I think part of that comes down to who's actually voicing their opinion in the community too. There are so many of the large pillars in the Destiny community, like your influencers, your streamers, your YouTubers, and all of these guys are in the sweaty community. A lot of these guys have been begging for rank for the longest, and I'm there with you. I want rank to come, but because of that being what everybody talks about, and because that's more involved than loot or something else, like I said, that involves more people and the general scheme of things. That's what they're focusing on. They feel like that's what everybody wants because they're just listening to a select few. And though that is quite important, and I want it in the game, I feel like it shouldn't be the first thing on the list. That's just me, though.
There's some huge issues as well with regard to things like hacking on PC specifically and things like Trials. You get people who have terrible connection issues, whether intentionally or not. You have people who just are like clearly cheating. There's a lot of other things too, like the fact that controllers have aim assist. It really blurs the line between aimbot and actual like controller use. It's kind of frustrating actually.
Well, I don't know. I really don't have any. I mean, you know, that's for another. That's for another.
Yeah, but I mean that's one of the things that you're facing with ranked playlists.
That's true though. That is absolutely true. So
that's more deeper discussion on Crucible in general.
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like we can go ahead and tie into the next portion, which is Masterworks. We're talking about loot. We're talking about competitive Destiny and what this means for the future and how many people it impacts. Now Masterworks, and I'm going to go down the list real quick and take a peek at this thing and talk about exactly what this says. So Masterworks, I'm looking at an image right now and it says Masterwork Weapon. It's Uriel's gift because that's not meta. It says 10 reload speed on it. And it says this weapon generates orbs on multi-kills and displays the number of enemies defeated by using it. Now 10 reload speed. Now are these going to be variations? Is 10 on the high end? Is it just a base stat? It's always 10 reload speed or 10 stability or 10 range. They said it's a limited pool, so my guess is it's going to be everything besides rate of fire and impact. The moment they have impact for sale, that's what everybody's going to use. I guess depending on the archetype, but either way, it's a really weird situation. That's a little bit of customization. I feel like it's a step in the right way. But when we go into understanding what this is, and we are a projected December 12th launch, it says legendary weapons will drop as or be upgraded to become Masterwork versions. Masterworks will have a few advantages over baseline legendary weapons. Track and display the number of kills with that weapon, a choice between total count of Crucible only count. Generate orbs for you and your allies on multi-kills. Add weapon stat bonuses that are selected randomly from a small pool and are re-rollable. Masterworks drop from any source of legendary weapons from characters above 250 power. Unwanted Masterworks can be dismantled into materials that can upgrade existing legendary weapons into a Masterwork. And Raid and Trials of the 9 weapons will have a very high chance to be Masterworks. So, they also say that we have future plans to extend Masterworks to other gear and expose your kill counts in more places. Another thing to add that is not directly in this portion is that you are going to be able to use current stocked up legendary shards to buy packs of Ingrams, which will in turn offer up another means of getting potential Masterworks. But the fact that you can basically upgrade, craft, and re-roll Masterworks, what do you think that's going to be? Is this just a band-aid? Is this a step in the right direction? What do you think this means to them, Zert?
You know what? I think that it's going to give some interesting variety, but I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on how the game's played.
Do you
like if you?
Do you think it's really going to like? Do you think this is just like another stat, or do you think this is the start of something? Like to me, if I'm looking at this image and it shows 10 reload speed, what if there were more variables in play, like different things, aim assist as well, and there were like 3 or 4 stats? But you still end up hitting the wall where Masterworks can be re-rolled so you can find whatever you're looking for. So it's not like one just drops and oh crap, it's a reload speed and I was looking for a stability one. So then that one's immediately scrapped. You know, there's RNG, there's reason to grind. If you can actually kind of just re-roll and get what you want, again, this is just a shortcut to endgame, right? This is really not improving the need to collect grind or any incentive. So, how do you feel about this? Do you think it's really just a simple placeholder? Do you think nobody's going to really give 2 shits about it, or...?
If they're re-rollable, I don't think it's going to help with anything with regard to endgame, because if you can re-roll them, it'll just be, okay, I got that, and I can just move on to the next one. I don't know if the benefit is great enough to really consider it endgame, unless it's just something else to grind for it, but as you said, if you don't really have to grind for it, then what's the point of it being quote-unquote endgame content?
Okay. What do you think, Hyman?
I think it's absolutely a band-aid. It's honestly just there so people will like stop complaining about the fact that the weapons have static perk rolls to give you some illusion of randomness and the ability to potentially grind something out so that we can actually work towards the best version of the gun. But again, like you said and how everyone says multiple times, is that the perks are still static. You're going to get the best version of the Uriel's gift every single time you get a Uriel's gift, regardless of if it's a Masterwork or not.
And so will everyone else.
Exactly. It's like if you have 10 reload speed, that's great for you, but again, that's not going to necessarily mean that the other person who's using Uriel's gift, who might have plus 10 handling or plus 10 stability, is going to make that much of a difference over the reload speed. It's just there as a placeholder until they can figure out how to completely rework the loot system, which I genuinely don't feel will happen until year 2.
Yes, I'm on the same boat. I mean, if anything, them saying ranked is our priority right now, all that means to me is now loot is not their priority. Because if they say that's their #1 priority, anything else that you're concerned about is automatically on the back burner. It's not that relevant to them. So that's what I'm talking about. We need diversity in terms of items and loot. I need to be able to separate myself from other people, play to the strengths that I appreciate, and also have different things. And that's a scary thing. I feel like Masterworks, if done right, and there were a bunch of different things to it, they could really do something really interesting with these mods and this Masterworks system. But unless they open up multiple slots and really introduce a whole bunch of things, maybe even add in maybe things that aren't as necessarily strong as some of these perks, but do something like they could go as crazy as a lot of these other RPGs do, like lifesteal or something like that. I don't know. I feel like there's tons of things they can do.
I feel like stuff like that is probably going to come more in the form of the regular mods that we already see. I feel like Masterworks is just kind of an early adaptation of what they're eventually going to instill into modifiers. Okay. Instead of having like the solar modifier and the kinetic modifier, they're going to have stuff that fits in the Masterworks slot, and then also add on to that with stuff like what you're saying, where they're like, or even potentially having random rolls eventually, or having additional perks you can add on. Because look at how many slots it has for the Master. There's clearly, you can fill up that with tons and tons of stuff.
True.
There's so many things you can do to add on when they've set up this mod system. There's so much potential for customization of weapons, even with the static rolls. The static rolls aren't necessarily the issue, it's the issue of stagnant loot.
Yeah.
I agree.
You're recording every time you get a Uriel's gift. Great, that's another 3 shards that I can add to the collection, which I can spend on Zur so I can get one of his frickin' engrams that he's going to be dishing out soon.
Right. No, I agree. We need a proper loot system. It seems to have taken a major spot on the back burner.
I agree. So I feel like we're all in unison there. I feel like we're on the same page that this is just a temporary thing. It's supposed to be a sleight of hand to distract people while they basically try to work on it. And even then, when are they going to get to it if ranked is their priority? And if private matches are still 1, 2, 3 months out, early 2018, we can expect a rank that'll be significantly later than that. We're probably talking a 6 to 9 month time. And then after that's done, then they can move on to other things. I severely doubt. I mean, I'm thinking like a March, April would be, yeah, your private match launch. And then it's probably another 3 to 6 months minimum for ranked to come through.
Yeah.
So we're talking 9 months before they can even allocate their resources over to loot or proper in-game. And I don't know, because to me, a Masterworks seems like a good idea at the start if they did more with it, but I'm just not feeling it. I don't think it's going to make any difference to me. I mean, I'm going to want things, but it's going to be so easy to access, like, I don't see it going anywhere. So we'll go ahead and roll over to the other portion of this commentary, and that is now in-game loot. So there is a new form of Imgram that's coming that'll be sold once a week. You can only buy one of them once per week from Zur. They're quite expensive. They're, what, 97? I think it's 97 legendary shards.
97, yeah.
And that will award you one exotic that you do not have. So getting you closer to have a complete collection of exotics. You will also be able to buy a sort of 3 of coins thing. It's been reworked so that it's 4 hours of increased odds of exotics, and it's not just like popping it before and after, it's just an ongoing buff for 4 hours. And again, obviously more uses for things like legendary marks and legendary shards, excuse me, that will allow you to invest them into the game. So what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Zur having more shortcuts and, I guess, fast tracking the end game?
Is it once per week per character or once per week?
I think it's just once. I don't know about account. I'm not sure that it's really going to matter much.
Likely, if they get less of ease of use, they'll probably make it once per account, but they haven't said yet. It could be once per character. We don't know.
Either way, I feel like we get a very generous amount of exotics per week now based on all activity. I feel like I have every exotic in the game in just the first couple of weeks. So if I can just get closer and closer to things, I don't know. This is obviously a shortcut, right? And the problem right now is we don't have any incentives to play. We don't have any reasons for us to log in and aim for things. There's nothing to collect. There's nothing to go for. I mean, we can play Crucible. We can do raids, but what else is there to earn? We already have everything we need. And this is coming from, you guys have it. You guys don't play near as much as I do, and you guys have already hit the ceiling. And all these are shortcuts for people to get to the ceiling quicker. This is counterproductive. This is exactly what you should not be doing, is making things easier for people to get to the end. The problem is people are upset because they're at the end and there's nothing else to do. So now you're making an express line to the end game. And literally that is adding gas to the flame. That is, in my opinion, one of the worst moves they can make. 3 of coins was a necessary thing back in the day in Destiny 1 because exotics were quite rare. They really were. So it made sense for those to exist. Right now, exotics are handed out like candy. So to me, I feel like this is just absolutely silly, personally. I don't know. What do you think about it, Hyman?
No, 3 coins is completely useless in the current state of the game. It's so easy to get exotic engrams. Like, I accidentally got like 3 exotic engrams in an hour of playing public events for characters.
Especially with Fire Team medallions already existing.
That's true. They give you the buffs.
Yeah, exactly. Fire Team medallions already exist, which already is this supposed to increase exclusively exotic chance more? Like,
just
or is it just
increase XP gains and loot for you and your members of your fire team while
and
doing
plus,
it does increase odds.
those things.
Vendors are already going to be handing out similar tokens that already have a chance to either give you extra faction tokens at the end of an event, whether it's like PvE or PvP, or they're going to be giving everyone an exotic on your team if you pop this one token. So it's going to be raining exotics for all of this Osiris update when it drops in a week.
What do you call it? I think I remember saying that seeing that faction gear is actually going to be sellable by the vendors
for 2 weeks. Yeah, faction gear will be sellable.
So that's another shortcut without actually having to get them via packages by RNG. They're now offering up shortcuts on the armor too. Less things to grind for.
Personally, I'm okay with that if they set the price at a decent level as far as...
That's true. It's expensive.
Right now it says it's like 15 legendary shards and 10 tokens for the respective event, and I don't really mind that as much for selling their gear, because honestly, like we've already said, it's all the same gear anyway. At this point, it's just cosmetic to complete your set.
Yeah.
So there's no harm in allowing people to buy it, because again, it doesn't affect anything once you do.
So, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this thing to a close with one question, and how do you overall feel about this? Do you actually, one question, have you guys been playing actively? Like, give me like a percentage of, compared to when you started and what you're playing now. Like, how often do you play now compared to when it was launch week?
Well, when it launched, we've been playing since day one when it launched on PS4, and I played pretty much non-stop for like a week and a half or 2 weeks, and by then I had 3 separate characters all up at 305. I leveled to 305 and then realized that it was useless having 2 warlocks, so I deleted one and then leveled up a Titan to 305. And when I did that, I was like, there's nothing really else to do. I waited for the faction rally, participated in that, printed that out for a couple days, and from there it just slowly deteriorated as they released more updates and stuff. Iron Banner was less rewarding, and when Iron Banner was less rewarding, I was like, what's the point in playing this game anymore? Like, because the weapons weren't that great, you didn't get them at the end of a match, you just had to keep grinding and earning tokens, which you got like maybe 1 or 2 at the end of a loss, I don't really remember. But it's now I'll like remember it's Tuesday and be like, oh wow, the game updated, I better go and do the EDZ, and then that's all I do because I don't want to touch Crucible because it's garbage. And I'll just grind out the PvE and do some public events and then complete that and then do it a little bit more to get the clan rep, and then I'll just turn off my game and then go play, like right now I'm playing through Wolfenstein, or I'll go play Call of Duty because I feel more reward out of playing those games than I do out of playing Destiny 2. It feels like there's nothing for me to earn.
But you don't play it much. You basically log in once a week on resets.
I basically log in once a week on resets, or like occasionally if like someone's like, hey, you want to do a raid? It's like, sure, I love the raid, let's go do it. It'll be a lot of fun. And that's it.
It's situational teamwork, and that's because your friends are there, not because you want to actually play the game.
Exactly.
So, okay, so what about you, Zerp? How often do you play? And I know it's kind of still fresh for you because you're exclusively a PC player and never experienced Destiny.
I was gonna say, I have I think a kind of unique situation when it comes to that. I've been playing on PC, I haven't stopped playing. I've been playing just about every evening, actually.
Okay, that's
when
good.
I can. So I play pretty actively. I've been playing a lot of PvP, strangely enough. And it's, some nights it's really frustrating, and some nights it's actually rewarding and fun. I just go to play with my friends, and it's fun. And we also grind through all the weekly stuff with our clan, so that's something to do.
Now is that because of the company you're with, or are you because you're actually enjoying the game itself? The combination?
It's a bit of both. I really enjoy Destiny 2 on PC because
I do too.
I was really tired of Overwatch. like, it was getting old for me. Overwatch is, in terms of PvP, and, well, there's only PvP in Overwatch, but as far as, like, ranked, I was done with it. I was getting really salty and really tired. And I wanted something with PvE content, and Destiny has filled that role and then some. So it's been a lot of fun playing Destiny 2 on PC, and I've been playing really actively.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I always feel weird when I say, hey, I like Destiny PvP. People look at me like, sick ass. But
I like it. I like it when
it.
the's not 4 Striker Titans on the other team.
Yeah, that too. That's quite a turn
I
off.
can't enjoy, I mean, because I end up having to play solo a lot if I ever do PvP.
Yeah, it's solo's AIDS. I won't touch this game solo.
It's so rare that anyone's even playing this game anymore because everyone already has anything, and the only time I see people on is on Tuesday at reset to hit all the milestones, and then I just see everyone offline again or playing other things. They're just
That's
not.
true. They just need more incentives. So I guess that answered my question ultimately. Now, do you think, with everything you've heard today with Masterworks and everything else, do you think I guess, I mean, Zerpy's going to keep playing either way. Do you think this is going to increase the odds of you coming to play more active? Do you think Masterworks are going to bring you back? Do you think Ranked is going to interest you?
The only thing that's bringing me back is the Curse to Osiris DLC, because they're finally really like implementing the lore in the actual narrative, and I love how deep they could go. Because they have a big universe that they have set up that they can just fill with whatever they want, and I'm really excited for that story. But again, like I'm once I get all the weapons and complete all the quests for that giant circle they showed off and the Osiris stuff, like that's gonna be it, because the weapons are all gonna be the same thing once I get them.
Alright.
Once I gain them.
Well, I guess that sums it up. I mean, I'm along the same lines. I actually, this is probably the first time I've played. I played once for one gameplay because I needed a gameplay to talk about something, and I don't think I've played this game in 3 to 4 weeks. And it's not because I don't necessarily like the game, it's just because I like other games more. And I feel like there's better alternatives out there, and I want to love this game. Like I said, the foundation's there. Like you said, there is so much potential. And I want to see them do well. Nothing is going to change in terms of loot. Masterworks are absolutely not going to satisfy anyone. And, well, ultimately that does nothing. Ranked I'm going to enjoy because I like Ranked. I don't know how into that you guys are going to be. I know you definitely won't. I mean, you were going to rage like crazy.
I'm going to be tilted. I'll be back.
You're going to be hella tilted, so...
I'm still going to play it.
I'm stoked for it because it is an in-game technically, but it's not the in-game that benefits everyone. And I feel like that whatever benefits everyone should be the priority, not what is appealing to a handful of people. You need to make the play for the bigger picture for the large majority of your community over the minority. But that's how I feel on it. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this journey, and I feel like a lot of our things overlapped. I feel like we all kind of were in agreement about a lot of these things, and we want to see the game succeed. We know it's got the potential. But I really don't think, I mean, outside of having new content, I don't think this is going to be enough for me to want to keep playing after things have run dry. After I'm bored with the new stuff, I don't think that's going to be enough for me to be like, hey, I want to log on every day.
Until Rank shows up, right?
Well, even Ranked is going to have its limitations, because as much as I love that...
Again, it all depends on their loot system. That's the main thing.
True.
Exactly.
They need to rework, because if the loot isn't rewarding, no one's going to play the game. And if you just keep throwing loot at people, they're just going to be so overwhelmed by how much stuff they're getting. No one's going to want to play the game anymore because they'll already have everything after like a couple hours or a few weeks.
Alright.
Do we not? Our team did not call the pillars.
Where's the other one?
It's underneath, I think. I don't know.
Oh, I've never done this one.
You've not? Wait, really?
Yeah, I don't play strikes. Can you guess why?
Oh, fuck.
Can you guess why I don't play strikes? Because I can't handle all the dank loot that I don't have.